One point I forgot to mention about late great George Foreman was his outstanding win versus Joe Frazier back in, I think it was 1973. George Foreman dropped the incredibly tough Joe Frazier not once, not twice, but 3 times in the first round and 3 times in the second round to stop him in the second round and claim the heavyweight title of the world. Now, also of note for me is that take a look at who was in George Foreman's corner for that fight. It was none other than the late great Archie Moore. If you check out the footage, Archie's wearing a sort of baby blue outfit and a baby blue hat, so you can spot him in the crowd. I think it's also interesting to note that we remember George Foreman for winning the world heavyweight title at 45 versus Michael Moore. And Archie Moore, his trainer, was also a late bloomer, so to speak. Archie won his first light heavyweight world championship versus Joey Maxim at the ripe old age of 38. Now, back in the 1950s, a 38-year-old pro fighter winning a world title was absolutely unheard of. Archie Moore also won the light heavyweight championship, I think it was at least 5 to 7 years later, when he defeated Yvon Durrell in Montreal. What made that fight even more incredible was the fact that Archie got dropped, I think, 4 times in the opening rounds, but he came back to actually stop his opponent later on in the 10th round. Now, not only was Archie Moore a source of inspiration for George Foreman as far as a fighter who was older, still being able to accomplish a world championship, George Foreman also got his cross-arm defense from Archie Moore. Notice how both George Foreman and Archie Moore use that cross-arm defense in a very active mode. They don't just cross their forearms horizontally in front of their face like Yoel Romero does and just hold them there. They're actively moving their upper torso. Now, granted, Archie Moore moved his upper torso a lot more with that cross-arm defense because he was a shorter fighter. George Foreman, having that height, didn't really need to bob and weave, say, as much as a Joe Frazier would have. But I dare say that cross-arm defense wasn't the only trick, so to speak, that George Foreman picked up from his late great trainer and mentor, Archie Moore. What are your fondest memories of either George Foreman or his mentor, Archie Moore? Let us know in the comments.